of you who may be watching this, okay, we're getting situated here. I'm going to move this little Lego thing that my son made me. And today I am doing a live Q&A. So I'm still trying to figure out how all of this works and scheduling something so that you know like when it's actually going live. But I couldn't, I didn't get that. I didn't get that figured out today. So if you happen to catch this live, amazing. I look forward to hearing from you and having you join the live conversation. And if you're watching the replay, then welcome, 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 all the same. So today we're talking about awakening women's pleasure. And I do have some bullet points and some things, some talking points that, some tips. But I would really love for this to be more of a conversational, more of a dialogue type of thing. So feel free to hop in with your comments and questions if you have any questions. And if not, then we'll just dive right into awakening women's pleasure. So first of all, why is it even important? Like why would we want to awaken our pleasure? Like as a woman, I will say, there is still collectively so much shame and stigma around women's pleasure. In fact, just yesterday I was doing a TikTok live, and I was talking about yoni egg practices and a pleasure wand and how this helps us to reconnect with our bodies and how important it is for us to claim our pleasure and that we deserve it and we are worthy of it. And TikTok banned me from sharing live videos for a week. So just that in itself, I wasn't doing any explicit demonstrations. I didn't bring out my model clay clitoris. I didn't bring out the pussy pillow. None of that. There is still so much stigma around women and pleasure. And this doesn't even, I mean, this is not new. This is not new. A lot of this has to do with our upbringings, the societal, this is good, this is bad, this is dirty, don't be a slut. And I'm actually re-listening, I love Audible, to this book called Witches, Sluts, and Feminists, which when I first heard it, awakened something in me that was like, oh my God, fuck yes. This is powerful to reclaim, for me especially, to reclaim or to claim for the first time the witch, the witch in me, the witch that I am, and the whole slut shaming thing that I, at least for me, that I have done to myself for so long up until just a few years ago, and especially when I started performing again and writing music again and expressing that desire and that like raw sexual prowess in song form, that really helped me to process a lot of that shame and to release a lot of that shame. So by the way, if you have any kind of creative outlet, you don't have to be releasing music publicly like I do. You don't have to be, performing for anybody, but just doing this on your own, dancing in your laundry room, dancing in your closet, I don't know, pounding on the steering wheel in your car, just like letting your energy flow. That's actually a really big part of awakening our pleasure. Because think about it, if our energy is all bottled up, if our energy is all like muffled and numbed and just like we got to keep it neat and tidy and small, how big do you think that your pleasure can be? Not very. Like not very at all. Because we can't color outside the lines. Because we got to be the temperature, like keep everything even for our families, in our relationships, in our society. Can't be that crazy bitch. I dare you to be the crazy bitch. I dare you to let yourself be the crazy bitch. And not in a way that is destructive, like you're just fuck everything and I don't care about anybody and you just steamroll everybody. Not that. Not that. But in simply letting yourself connect with that wild feminine, that has been silenced and suppressed for so long, and giving her space to emerge. Like I shared in a video, was it a couple weeks ago? Or was it last week? A couple weeks ago, I think, about cultivating a relationship with your wild feminine. And I gave you 3 practices that you can do. You can do this every day. You can do this multiple times a day. There are certain seasons, like last week for me, it must have been last week that I posted this video then. There are certain seasons where I feel like the wild feminine in me just wants to be like, ah, and I give her space. I give her extra space to just express herself, to just be. And I think that every single woman can benefit from that. You don't have to go like completely dark. And I've also had seasons where I feel like I've completely gone dark, or mostly gone dark, where I really, really want to lean into that dark feminine. And I will, like, for example, showing it on the outside, I'll wear my black nail polish and black lipstick and more leather and stuff like that, and it feels like home. It feels like home now, just as much as my light does. And I think that that is a powerful, powerful step in our healing, in healing the feminine wound, and in healing our own sexuality, and in awakening our pleasure. So, okay, so blah 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 blah, releasing. Okay, so there are 3 things that I want to share with you about awakening women's pleasure, whether that's your own pleasure or your woman lover awakening her pleasure. Whoever is watching this, again, remember that this is not only for the ladies. I know that a lot of men also watch this, and they're fascinated and curious and genuinely interested in how they can be there more for their ladies, for their queens, and be more supportive and create that safe space for them to explore. So, all right. Okay, so this first one is really big. Sets the foundation for everything. It's releasing the pressure and the expectations. And this is something that the queens in my programs hear a lot about. Releasing that expectation, releasing the judgment. This is being present with what is. This doesn't mean that you want to continue to do things as they are. It's literally just noticing and accepting that this is what it is. It sounds simple, right? But it can be really fucking hard. Because we're so used to, or at least I know for me, I grew up all very inclined to just sweep things under the rug, look on the bright side. It's not that bad. Talk about invalidating feelings, okay? And toxic positivity. Like, oh, well, at least you're not a child in a third world country who has to drink mud water. What does that have to do with this moment? Like, no, these feelings are valid. And your suffering and your pain are also real. On that note, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. That's not what this video is about, but this is something that is definitely big on my mind right now across the platforms that I share content on, because a lot of things are bubbling up for people. I feel like collectively, or maybe it's just in my circles that are reflecting things back to me. Interesting how that is. So to release your pressure and expectations on what you think female pleasure should look like. Oh, I should be squirting all over the place. I should be multi-orgasmic. I should be wanting sex every moment of the day. No, fuck that. Okay, that is someone else's experience of pleasure. It might even be your experience of pleasure sometimes. Hi, good to see you. Love Kush. It might even be your experience of pleasure some days or some moments. But here's where it gets tricky, okay? The moment that you begin to judge yourself when you don't experience the ecstatic, big, flowing, gushing orgasms, then you're just back to that self-loathing, the self-judgment. You're not accepting yourself. And you know what that does is that puts more resistance between you and what you actually want. Yes, feel free to ask your questions. And so then what you resist persists. And that's going to keep coming up. It's going to, and then you're going to be like, why is it so hard? And then you maybe try to force it, and then that really doesn't work. And then you're frustrated, and you're like, I just give up. So when you take a moment to step back and become an observer, we become so attached to our feelings. And while our feelings are 100% valid, you feel what you feel. And I fully believe we've got to feel it to heal it. And also remind yourself that who you are in your wholeness and fullness as a human being, as a human and divine being, you are not your emotions. Your emotions are messages. Your emotions are like little alerts that like, hey, you may want to check this out. There is a public figure, a thought leader in the spiritual community named Teal Swan, who I've followed for like 7 years now. I think it was around, I wonder if that's like when her YouTube channel was pretty newish. And she talks a lot about all of these things, you know, with like pain and suffering. And I highly recommend checking her out, by the way. Just like look at that. So she brings it back to how the root of all suffering is separation, and this fragmentation that we have within ourselves when we don't accept parts of ourselves, and that is what creates the loneliness. That's what creates these feelings of like nobody gets me, and self-loathing and self-judgment. And so the more that we can become observers of what's happening in our lives and recognize, here's a big distinction, subtle but big distinction. I was literally telling myself this morning when I was just feeling kind of like blah and a little dragging, and a lot of stuff energetically has been coming up for me this week with this full moon. I don't know, I'm like, what the fuck? And it's not even logical. It's not like I had some big fight with my husband, or my kids triggered me, or somebody died. You know, no, it's nothing like that. It's just like I feel this like it's groaning. It's like and growth is very uncomfortable. You know, release can be really uncomfortable and also very relieving. But this week has just felt like heavier for that. And so this morning I was reminding myself, I am not an anxious person. I am not a depressed person. I am a human fucking being who experiences the anxiety, who experiences the depression. I do. And I experience the joy. I experience the peace. I experience the ease. But really, until several years ago, when I started to actually let myself feel the discomfort and the pain, until I started to do that, that's when I started to feel more of the pleasure. That's when I was able to feel more of the joy instead of feeling like just numb inside. The I don't know, Jenny, if you're here, well, give me a little. I'm here. I just did our live video for Pussy Powered Mornings right before this, and we were talking about this the same thing with the pain and pain being inevitable, but suffering being optional. And let me know if you're here, because I know that you. I don't know if she's here. She was going to come. Okay. So, yeah, until you feel, she said something like, you know, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's neglect. And I would say, the way that I would say that is the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. Apathy. And when you, oh, and like boys releasing to girls release anything. They can. Okay, I'll come right back to that. If you're feeling numb in your vagina, or in your life, or in your relationships, or in things that you used to enjoy that you no longer enjoy, okay, there is a message there for you. That numbness or that apathy, that indifference is a message. It's not your fate, it's not your doom, it's not your destiny. It is a message. And for me, when I feel that, for me, it's a message that I am. There's pain that I have not been willing to look at. There's some pain or something that isn't working in my life that I have been pushing down, and you cannot selectively numb emotions. Brene Brown, she talks about this brilliantly. And to sum it up, she says, you cannot selectively numb emotions. You can't numb your pain, sedate, drink it away, smoke it away, fuck it away, whatever, shop it away, whatever the coping mechanisms are. And none of those things are bad, by the way. It's just if we're using escapism consistently and we are numbing and we are disconnecting from our pain, we're disconnecting from our bodies, we're dissociating from our lives and from our bodies. You can't selectively numb, just numb out the pain and the uncomfortable stuff and expect to feel pleasure and love and joy and be present and be like blooming in life. It's just not how it works. We're not compartmentalized like that, as much as we'd love to think that we can be. So to answer the question that came up, so there is a female ejaculate. And this is not something that I personally talk a whole lot about because it's not something that I personally do. I have done a little bit. I actually talked about this in my group, in the Pussy Powered Mornings group, just yesterday or the day before. But if that's something specifically that interests you, you might want to check out, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. There's this queen that I follow on Instagram who, her whole thing is female squirting. Her whole program is all about that. And so while she says every single woman can do it, I've heard different things that some women will have these gushing female ejaculatory orgasms and some women will only have more of a dribble. That's a toss-up. I don't know. But until you really commit yourself to it and you decide like, okay, I'm willing, I'm open to give this a try, then I wouldn't discount it. So what is her name? Well, I'm doing this on my phone, so I can't really look on my phone. But there's also someone named Caitlin V, who her channel is actually geared towards men, but she does have a video, at least one video, maybe more, about female squirting. But typically, for a woman to have an orgasm, it's not like ejaculation is not common. It's not like the typical experience for a woman, like it is for a man. Like when you think, like when a man is having an orgasm, it typically is accompanied by ejaculation, right? Which is why you see like these channels about semen retention, like my friend Jonathan at Sexual Kung Fu. Caitlin V also talks about semen retention, where instead of like just getting their chi out there and then going through the whole refractory phase of relaxing and basically losing the motivation to like the fire that was under their ass, to use that sexual energy and retain semen. And they even talk about like having sex without ejaculating. So if this is a whole new world for you, I recommend checking out Sexual Kung Fu YouTube channel and Caitlin V. It's Caitlin with a C, like men. What do we say here? I lost that last one. Like men do, women feel enthusiastic. They can. They totally can. Okay, so Caitlin V. Yeah, Caitlin V is with a Caitlin V. Caitlin V. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to check that out. She's got really great stuff on her channel. Okay, so, second tip. And I'm going to go through these relatively quickly too now. Being patient and curious. Exploration. A woman's pleasure, it can be a complex and mysterious and like you can't quite figure it out. It can feel like that because there are so many factors. Stress can be a factor, sexual shame, and again with being so common for there to be this stigma and shame and like religious and cultural programming about, oh yes, welcome. And there's so much more on my channel, Love Kush. Feel free to check all of that out. Lots of different categories and things when it comes to sexual healing. But a lot of times we are so rushed to get to orgasm. Just even that, for example. Or just rushed in our day. We don't create space for ourselves as women very often. We're wearing all the hats, we're juggling all these things, and the last thing on a lot of our minds, especially like if you have young kids and you're working and you're doing all the things, it's like there are seasons where you feel accomplished if you just take a shower, let alone trying to pleasure yourself and making that a priority. There's one of the queens in my group right now, in my coaching group right now. She has a 7-week-old, and I think it's her first kid, and I have 4 kids. So I've known, like, for me it was a progressive kind of a build up of putting my needs on the back burner in this very important area for a long time, that finally led me to exploring more of this in myself. Yeah. What is normal size and sex time for men? So Love Kush, we emphasize more of the women's pleasure and sexual healing than the men's. Now, I will say, if you want to hear all about that, again, Caitlin V, she is phenomenal at sharing about this. She actually does talk about the size matter and all that. Really, like, I am good with a smaller size, because the thing is that a lot of women, like, we just got to hit the right spots. Got to be patient, got to be open, got to be curious. All these same things that I'm sharing here, that the men or whoever the woman's lover is, they can help to create that safe space to explore. Caitlin V. Can I type in comments? I wish I could type in comments. I wonder if I can. I'm going to show you her channel here. I'll tell you what. That way you can see what she looks like. And she's super rad. Caitlin V. Because she, again, her channel is for men, and she actually coaches men also. But she does have some tips for the ladies, of course, and all of this is relevant to both partners. So I'm going to flip the camera. So this is her channel. Oh my God, look at this. Latest video, can't come. Ooh, start stop method, how to last longer in bed. So the thing about lasting longer in bed, when it comes to that, let's see, Member Retention 101, preventing erectile dysfunction. So good. Get better at eating out. Okay, yes. So you see, like, she's legit. I love what she shares. And she just has a really cool vibe. Yeah. See, okay. And I'm trying to see if I can find that one video. So here we go. Like, here's a squirting one. Make her squirt. I've watched this one. It is excellent. Finger magic. Oh, it's nice. Last longer in bed. Okay, so the thing about lasting longer in bed is this. Usually when men want to last longer in bed, it's because they're not lasting long enough for their lover. Okay? There are some things, like, there are some things that you can, that men can do. Like, for example, when they are self-pleasuring, when they are masturbating or doing their sexual energy practices, they can actually use less stimulation, and then when they have sex, it feels fuller, it feels more satisfying. And so they can also practice, like, edging. They can practice. There's so many things that Caitlin will describe better than I can right now. What was that comment? Women release the egg once a month, and it says since I have them a couple days. Yes, yeah. And if you have your tubes tied like I do, that egg, I mean, the sperm will never reach the eggs, but you continue to ovulate. And all the hormones function as usual. I love that. After having 4 kids, I was like, y'all, tie me up. Okay, so really releasing that expectation, showing up to self-pleasure or to sex or to simple just embodiment practices with curiosity and playfulness. So you're not, like, going at this with this hard set agenda of, like, I have to squirt, or I have to have this kind of orgasm, or it has to take 5 minutes, but really giving yourself some breathing space. And this is why I am such a huge advocate, and especially for women, especially for women, of having a self-pleasure ritual. Because this is your time to play. This is your time to explore without the external pressures of like, oh, am I showing him that it feels good? Am I making enough noises? Am I making a weird face? Like, you're just being fully present with yourself. You don't have to worry about how it looks or how it sounds or anything like that. Thank you, thank you. So this is your sacred time to explore things that you have not explored before. Not the time to just hurry up and get to whatever finish line, typically orgasm. And for me, even because I am such an ambitious, like goal-oriented person, my self-pleasure ritual over all this time has helped me to release and relax more into the moment and accept what is. And it's in those moments where, and I'm not alone in this. So many of the women in my programs have said the exact same thing. They're like, oh, I caught myself judging myself when I was self-pleasuring and having this, being attached to this expectation and thinking that, okay, this is going to get me to orgasm. This is going to make me orgasm. But then feeling that pressure and that resistance, they notice that the resistance is present. They notice that the judgment is present. And then they take a breath. They allow themselves to release that. Self-pleasure is a very creative practice, actually. Okay, if it feels like just go hurry, then that's not what this is about. That's missing the point. Release, breathe, be present with what is, notice what's coming up, and then give yourself permission to let it keep floating by. And so many women have told me in those moments where they let themselves just release the expectation and they're like, you know what? I'm going to be great today. I'm going to be just fine if I don't have an orgasm this morning. I'm going to be just fine. It doesn't make me any less of a woman. It doesn't make me any less worthy of what I want in my life. And they release that expectation and that pressure. And that's when they have their most deliciously intense, fulfilling, deep orgasms. And that's no coincidence, because it's in that space where they can fully relax and be and just, not have any kind of, you got to get here by this deadline. So, and then the third thing is new kinds of play and stimulation to awaken a woman's pleasure. Just going up to the same old spots, like going straight for the clit. Y'all have heard me talk about this if you've watched my videos for any length of time. Instead of going straight for the typical zones, like, okay, this is what we do. Let's get into 69. You eat my pussy, I'll suck your cock, and it's like, it gets old. It gets old, and you start to like desensitize and become a little numb to the whole experience, because it is so much right here. This is your largest sex organ right here, your brain. And when you take a little bit of time, even just a little bit of time before what you usually do in bed with your partner, with your lover, and you introduce something new, maybe some sensual, like a little bit of bondage play, maybe just some dancing, just some breathing together, some eye gazing, being together without having to talk about anything, touching each other, gently stroking, your fingers on their back. Just things that your brain is not like, oh, here we go again. Same old thing, same old thing. I know exactly what to expect. You get bored. And if you don't get bored, your lover is getting bored. A lot of times for women, especially, I've heard this in so many places, and I don't know where the studies are, but women get bored more easily than men, supposedly. I feel like in our relationship, I feel like that's true. And so I'll have to be the one who's like, you know what? Let's try something different. Women like to feel comfortable, and I would say that asking questions is what we like the most. Compliment than question. And yeah. And on that note too, there is something so magical about like the polarity, right? Like the feminine and masculine energy. We all have the feminine and masculine energies in all of us, right? But when you are, for that sexual chemistry to be there, that polarity has got to be there. Okay, because one is more giving, one is being more receptive, and that you can shift throughout the experience. But what doesn't work is when I've heard so many women say this, and I personally also feel this way, that if a man is asking constantly, what do you want? What do you want? So men, tip right here, and this has worked wonders for us. Okay, so on the side of the man or whoever is giving that masculine energy, holding that masculine container, to instead of saying like, what do you want me to do to you, unless she is like very, like she knows exactly what she wants, that can put a lot of pressure on her. That can put a lot of pressure on her and take her out of the moment, take her out of her body, and then she's overthinking it, and then she's not feeling the pleasure, she's not feeling her body. So the quality of the questions really does make a difference. So instead of saying like, what do you want me, like where do you want me to start, what do you want me to do, again, it's just very nuanced here because it depends on your particular lover. And even if your woman is used to telling you what to do, maybe switch it up. See how she likes this. You can ask, like you were saying, what do you like this? Do you like it when I do this here? Do you like this? Like, do you, ooh. And it doesn't always have to be in a verbal way. Like for us, it really helps me a lot when it's partially verbal, but then partially he's just like gently experimenting, you know? And then women or whoever's holding that feminine container in that feminine energy, express what you are enjoying and what you're not. And I'm not talking about like porno sounds. We're like, yes, yes. You know, like be real, okay? Be real. If that's really you, if that's really what how you are in sex, then do you, boo. But I know so many women who feel like they have to like exaggerate their vocal, be like exaggeratingly vocal during sex just to like please their partners. So I'm not about that life, okay? I'm not about that. What I'm saying is like through your body language, through the nonverbals, because after all, most of our communication is nonverbal. We forget that. We forget that. It's in the tone. It's in the like, if you have tension in your body, if your thighs are clenched or if they're relaxed, like if your like hips are swaying, like just pay attention to. I mean, the masculine paying attention to the feminine and what she is responding to, and not again to be attached to any particular thing. Like, oh, she's gonna love this. Oh, she's not really loving this. I'm gonna make her love this. No, like this is a dance. This is a dance. Your energies are flowing together. This is not someone superseding somebody else's will, okay? Unless you're doing bondage play or BDSM on purpose and you've already set these agreements in place ahead of time. What do you suggest to start fresh with a partner? I think we somehow lost trust and connection. Oh, there you are, Queen. I see you. Okay. Is love real or is just about attraction and sex? Love is definitely real. Love is absolutely real. And hey, you know what? Another great resource about this, just to talking about how desire and love can exist, like desire, lust, and love, like safety, connection, how all of that can exist. Check out Esther Perel. Esther, like it's spelled like Esther, but it's pronounced Esther Perel, Perel. She has incredible resources. She's written some great books, lots of great interviews on YouTube. Esther Perel for that. And actually, Jen, so Queen, okay, to start fresh. This is, let me make sure I'm reading this in full. Okay. Oh, you have a very similar name to who I thought you were. Okay, so the biggest thing, just a quick, there's another interview that I've been watching on YouTube that was just published this morning on Lewis Howes page. He's a host of the School of Greatness podcast, but this is on his channel is called Lewis Howes, and it's the video from today with Jen Hatmaker, and she talks about she's currently going through a divorce, okay, and he asked her, when you start doing your own inner work, basically, like, is that for the benefit of the relationship? How does that benefit the relationship? And I love that how honest and just no bullshit her response was. You know what? Sometimes it means that the relationship doesn't work. Sometimes it means the relationship dissolves. Sometimes it means that that it does serve the relationship in the greater picture. But 100% of the time, it serves you best to be in your integrity and to be in alignment with who you really are, rather than the alternative of dumbing down who you are, playing small, minimizing yourself, people pleasing, your emotional well being being at the mercy of whoever is around you. So it always, 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 always begins with you doing your own inner work. And what I mean by inner work, I know like I have I have courses on all this stuff, right? I have courses on awakening your sexual pleasure, sexual energy, a course on inner child healing, a course on shadow work, a course on mornings for your like to empower you for your day. But when I talk about inner work, it's basically self-awareness. It's recognizing that it's fully your responsibility how you experience life. So along with that, you've got the mindset work. You've got healing the traumas that are unresolved. You've got reparenting that inner child, like giving that child what they were missing that they haven't gotten. You've got looking at the parts of yourself that you resist or that you have denied, those parts of yourself that you've locked away in a box. And that shadow work will set you free. There was a comment I missed here. Let me see what we got. Yeah, it sounds like you got a crush. Yes, yes, and Giovanna, because I do have so many friends and people in our communities who are either non-binary or they have transitioned from one cisgender to a different gender. And so I know, like, but the concept remains the same. Like, there's a polarity. There's a polarity there. Look, I have this is so interesting. So interesting. I didn't begin identifying, like I personally identify as queer, even though I am a cisgender female, married to a cisgender male, and we have 4 children together. Even though I haven't had a woman lover, even though, like I've always had this attraction also to women and people who were like non-binary looking before we knew what non-binary was, like, and then it turns out that like this is what we're anyway. I think that sexuality is a lot more fluid than many of us grew up learning, if that makes sense. So, and I also have a lesbian daughter and a gay brother and a bisexual daughter. So I don't know. I'm just like everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's got their own preferences and what turns them on and what lights them up and what gets them excited and what they connect, like who they connect with and what in other people they connect with. So this concept of having feminine and masculine energies is just it's in everyone. It's in everyone. I know that for me, when I have tried to take on more of the masculine role, because at my essence, I feel really best in my feminine essence. When I've done that, the sexual chemistry between me and Ryan, my husband, it doesn't work. It's like, it feels like we're butting heads. Like we're both trying to like lead. We're both trying to take that control. But I really love that feeling of that experience of surrender. And also because there's so much in my day-to-day life that I feel like I am calling the shots on, that I am like, pulling the reins, that it's nice to just like surrender, But I do like to experience the flip side, and so does he. So we play around with that. But again, playfulness and curiosity. Being open to trying new things. And sometimes that means that you schedule time for new adventures in your bedroom or wherever. Because these things, especially when you have, kids and you've got work and you've got all these things going on, they don't tend to just kind of happen on their own. You've got to be intentional about it. There was something else. I feel like there was another question. Oh, yes. So, what to do to start fresh with a partner? The thing is, you don't really start fresh. You both have your stuff, your pain, your unresolved wounds, your shit. your projections, your self-judgment, which is also shows up as judgment towards the other person. Like, it's just a lot. So when Ryan and I first started doing this work in ourselves, when I first started getting deeper into this stuff with my own healing, when he was going through that 2.5 year period of depression and disability, apathy and numbness, all of that I was talking about earlier, there was no like there was no reset button that I could hit. Like, this is a new relationship. Here we are. The process is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable and it's messy. Yes, yes, there you go. This is, see, you're not alone in that. The process was very messy. And there are a lot of things that I've learned along the way that now, if I could go back and tell myself, like, oh, maybe like try this a little different. But I genuinely believe that we learn the lessons that we are ready to learn at the time that, like, they come when we're ready, you know? And so there's no sense in beating ourselves up about not getting the lesson earlier. So there are like less chaotic ways to heal what's happening in the relationship, but it always comes back to us being aware of our own pain, our own triggers, our own projections that what we're bringing out of the other person, what our expectations are of ourselves, and how that is how we're reflecting that into our exterior environment and our relationships. Does that make sense? Like, and again, this is something that, these are things that we talk a lot more in depth about in our private community. Every Tuesday, I share a training in our Pussy Powered Collective. And the way that you get access to that group is through any of the Pussy Powered programs. So if you're not there, if you're watching this and you want to be in that, check out pussypowered.me, see what resonates with you. Right now, for the next 3 days until the end of May, Pussy Magic is 50% off. So you can dive deeper into those limiting beliefs and those things that are the resistance that is between you and the pleasure that you want to experience, the things in your relationship that you want to experience, that will help to like navigate that in a more streamlined way for you. But yeah, to continue answering that question, there's no reset button. But what happens is the more that you commit to showing up for yourself, the more that you demonstrate, not just saying, not lip service, but you demonstrate that you are committed to your healing and your freedom and your wholeness and your well-being, that is going to naturally, there's no way that it cannot, begin to shift the relationships in your life. That's not to say that it's going to be smooth sailing, but it will reveal, a lot of cracks will be revealed, okay? And then you can just take one at a time as it comes. And remember that this is a lifelong process. It's not like I need to be fixed and it's going to take me 3 months or a year. This is a lifelong practice. And the more years that I have been doing these practices and all of this with myself, the more I can really just sum it up to the whole thing is a practice of accepting what is and releasing resistance. Because in doing that, you create space, you open up space for more of what you actually want, and to even connect with what your desires are in the first place. Because that's fucking scary, you know, to connect with what you want, because then you got to look at, oh shit, this is not what I have. For hurting him when I was immature. Yeah. And so see, it's in those moments right there, where you can take responsibility for not only your actions, but your emotions. Because here's the truth. Nobody makes you feel anything. A trigger exposes an existing wound. If something triggers you, it's like you pour salt on my skin, it's not going to burn. But if you pour salt and I have a wound, it's going to fucking hurt. Okay, so then that's for you to dive deeper into what's going on here. Why does this hurt? Why does it seem like I overreacted? Why do I feel this strongly about it? And this is why I put together the tools that I put together in like the Shadow War course and the Inner Child Healing. Like this was not in my plan to create all of these programs and stuff in the past 6 months. Like I was like happy just creating YouTube videos, showing up on TikTok, doing whatever. This has become, this has come to life because there are so many of you, and really this was inspired, all these programs were really ultimately inspired by most strongly by my following on TikTok, because they're like, how do I do this? What do I do? What tools can I use? And a lot of this is learning how to self-regulate. It's learning how to explore those deeper parts of yourself that scare the shit out of you, and then to be able to pull yourself out of that darkness, accept that that is also a part of you, and to be able to self-regulate in these moments, like to detach from, okay, I am not my feelings, and yet my feelings are revealing some very important messages to me. So instead of running away or doing whatever I typically do, fight, flight, freeze, let me just choose to do this moment differently than I have all the other times that this trigger came up. So, okay, well, this became a lot more than just like 3 tips about awakening women's pleasure. And I love that. I could talk about this shit all day. So, did I miss? Yes, yes, this. Okay, God, okay. That's me too, Queen. That's me too. And I'll tell you what, when Ryan started doing this work with himself, within himself, and noticing his own projections, and we began to take complete responsibility, like, man, okay, that thing that you said was actually not okay. Like, I do not, like, I don't want that behavior to continue. This cannot continue. But along that same note, not but and the emotional response that that invoked in me is for me to deal with. Because if we depend on someone else's apology or acknowledgement to make us okay, then we're giving away our power. And yet, whenever someone does that after they've hurt us or created pain, they've still caused that impact. So like when, oh God, just the other day, I was my father-in-law was visiting for the first time in like 3 years. We hadn't had any guests here since 2018, and my husband and his dad, my father-in-law, have been going through so many great like healing, so many beautiful healing experiences these past few years, and especially the past year. And this moment came up where my typical response when 2 people are in conflict with each other, especially with my husband, because he can be really intense, is to jump in and save them and be like, no, let me play the middleman. But then what would always happen is my husband would feel ganged up on. He would feel like, well, why are you taking their side? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to be neutral here. So I made the decision to just stay completely out of it. But that doesn't mean that I didn't have feelings about it. And deep down, I was judging my husband. Like, dude, I thought you were better than this. Like, you have demonstrated with me that you can communicate so much better than that. What the fuck happened? Like, what? Why? Why? And so what that revealed to me was how much, revealing to me that I do judge myself. Sometimes more harshly than others, sometimes not at all, but it comes up. I do judge myself for like regressing. Like, I thought I was better than this. I thought that I was past it. I thought that I was, more evolved or enlightened or, you know. But here I am responding in the same way that I always reacting in the same way that I did before I knew all of these tools and practices. And so again, that's a practice of noticing. Oh God, okay, I am still human. That part is that this is me. This is also me, and I'm owning that. And I'm not going to hate myself or judge myself or shame myself for that. So I noticed that when he asked me, how I felt about him and the way that he responded, I was like, you know what? Like I wish that I didn't judge you for that, but I do. And that did cause pain with him. It's crazy. And thank you for asking this question. There is so much that I can speak to on this. It's a lot of stuff. But he asked me in the most calm way too. Like, this is how we have done so much fucking work in ourselves and in our relationship to get to this point. he asked me very calmly and compassionately and patiently, like again, communication is mostly nonverbal. We get the words, but we feel the energy. And he asked me so patiently and lovingly, like, how did you feel about how I did that down there? I was like, I wish that I didn't judge you, but I did. I did. And I hate that I'm doing that. And I caught myself like, I hate that I'm doing that. Even me acknowledging that I realize where it's coming from, it's like it still hurt him. And yes, his triggers are 100% his responsibility, but that doesn't mean that because we're in a relationship. We're in a relationship where we value connection and honesty and integrity, and we don't want to keep these things from each other. So there's this part that's like, pull up your big girl panties, your big boy underwear, and just, take it, figure out what your gift, what your breakthrough is. But also there's this piece of, okay, what I said or the way I responded, because I said something else that did hurt him. And he was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And I was like, well, shit, I mean, that's how I feel. That's how I fucking feel, And it can be how I fucking feel. And also I can recognize that hurt him. So in that moment, in those moments where you're like not necessarily doing something wrong or doing something out of malice, or like you're not doing something with, evil intentions or whatever, you don't mean to hurt them. Here's what makes all the difference in the world for that person is to simply see their pain. Not to fix it. Not to fix it. What really led us to this breaking point in that conversation after things were getting heated, and I was like, wait, what's like, oh, I see what's happening. Oh my God, fuck. It really led us to that breaking point, the breakthrough point, rather, is when I was like, okay, babe, like, I see you. And not me just saying that, but genuinely seeing him and seeing how that hurt child inside was so, that wound that is still raw in this particular thing that he was fighting about his dad about. Does that make sense? How like that, it just sucks. Like, I'm sorry, man. Not I'm sorry that I did something to you, but like, man, that sucks. Let me just be with you in your pain. You don't need me to fix you. You don't need me to like deflect the pressure off of me or off of your pain and just make it go away. Let's just sit in the discomfort together, and I see you, and I'll hold you. I'll hold space for you without trying to hurry up and make you feel better because it's making me uncomfortable. So even in those moments where you don't fuck up, or you don't name call, or you don't yell at the person, or you don't do something that you regret, when you're doing something that's actually your truth and aligned and your integrity, and you're not compromising your integrity, that can still hurt. So it's not a matter of apologizing and taking fault, taking blame. It's connection. And we connect by seeing each other. Noticing the judgment, releasing the judgment, just being willing to sit with what is. I know that's easier said than done. Like, trust me, I know it's easier said than done. I've been practicing this for years, and I don't get it perfect. That's why it's a practice. I think I missed some comments here. Sorry doesn't help. Yeah, sorry doesn't. You need to look at, yeah. And taking responsibility. And here's notoriously what I do. That doesn't work in our relationship. And I've gotten so much better at this the last few years, but like, it's still really hard for me sometimes, is to acknowledge the pain, right? Even if I'm not wrong, to just acknowledge it and be like, man, I see you. I see that you're hurting. And, what can I do? Is there anything that I can do? But to also be clear about what my commitment is. So I can just sit here like for day after day after day after day, and I did for years, for many years, judging him and criticizing him and telling him that he's not doing this and that good enough, and he should be this more and he shouldn't be that as much, and say, I'm sorry, and then do it again, and say, I'm sorry, and then do it again, and say, I'm sorry. There's no commitment. What's missing for him and for me in those moments is the commitment. For me to say, okay, what am I committed to? What am I committed to working on to growing in, to healing. And the commitment is not, I will never ever judge you again. I will never criticize you again, because come on, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. You're going to do it and then you're going to feel like shit about it. And then your partner's going to throw it in your face. You said you wouldn't do that and you just did it. So like really when you make your commitments, check in with your heart, check in with yourself. What is that next step that you are taking that you know deep down you need to take in order to get a little bit closer to what that vision is for your relationship or for yourself, for your body, for literally anything in your life. Because shame serves you in no way. As Brene Brown says, guilt is I made a mistake. Guilt can be extremely productive and helpful. Shame is I am a mistake. And then you're just stuck with it because everywhere you go, there you are. So you are not like shame is just not, just notice it, release it. Be like, there it is again. Okay, bye-bye. And do whatever you need to do. Whatever though that breakdown, whatever breakthrough that breakdown is leading you to. There's always an opportunity for a breakthrough when you have a breakdown. Okay. All right. Whew. Okay, so I will be, I think I can post the replay of this. I've literally never done a live before on YouTube, so this is experimental in how I post this. But in theory, it should still live on my page after I end it. So thank you for everyone who tuned in, and I encourage you to explore more at pussypower.me or at lucylampy.com. I've got all the other programs there as well, like the inner child healing and the shadow work. And then you're welcome to check it all out. So sending you all so much love. I hope you have a beautiful holiday weekend. Remember to move your body, hydrate, be present with your feelings. Don't rush through shit. Just be with what is. Sending you all so much love, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. How do I end it?